Canto 5 of the Kumarasambhavam. Seen Kama burned to ashes before her very eyes, by the trident-armed lord, and her hopes lying shattered. Parvati's cursed within her heart her beauty, for beauty's fruit is the gaining of the beloved. She yearned to make her beauty yield its fruit, through penance performed in profound meditation. How else was she to win the love foretold, and a consort such as he? When she heard that her daughter, her whole being centered on the Lord of the Mountain, was bent on penance, Maina pressed her to her bosom, and with earnest words strove to turn her away from a life of harsh ascetic vows. In our home are deities to fulfill your desires. How harsh, my child, is penance? And this body of yours, how delicate. The sirisa blossom can bear the weight of a bee, not of a bird. Though she exhorted her daughter in this manner, Maina was powerless to deter her from her firm resolve. Who indeed can turn back water steadily headed downward, or a mind relentlessly pursuing what it desires above all? The girl of steadfast mind once requested, through a close friend, her father, who knew well her heart's desire, to let her lead a life of austerities in the forest until they bore fruit. Pleased with the sense of purpose so worthy of her, her father, most exalted, gave his consent, and Gowrie resorted to a peak peopled by peacocks, that later, called by her name, gained fame in the world. That girl of inflexible resolve removed the necklace of pearls, whose swaying strings rubbed the cream of sandalwood off her breasts, and tied on a bark garment, tawny as dawn, held at bay by upthrusting breasts from touching her limbs. Her face, with matted hair piled high in a topknot, was no less charming than it was framed by well-dressed tresses. The lotus, close embraced by spreading duckweed, is no less radiant than it is with rows of clinging bees. The rough touch of the triple-stringed munja waistband she wore as a sign of her vows made the hairs on her limbs bristle. Worn for the very first time now, it turned red, the tender region once graced by the jeweled belt. Turned away from the lower lip drained of color and from the ball tinged by unguents applied to her breasts, Uma made her hand, its fingers pricked plucking sharp blade kusha grass, the lover of aksha beads. She who felt pain even from the touch of flowers falling from her hair as she turned on her magnificent bed of white sandalwood, now sat on the bare ground, ritually sanctified, and slept with her head pillowed on a slender, vine-like arm. Observing strict vows, she left two things in trust, in two places to be reclaimed later. Her movements of curving grace with slender vines, and those tremulous glances of hers with the does. She nurtured the saplings herself, tireless, pouring water from jars shaped like breasts. Even the young god, reared in a secret place, would not deprive these, her firstborn, of a mother's love. Coaxed by wild grain, she held in her cupped hands. Gazelles grew to repose such implicit trust in her that she would measure her eyes playfully against theirs while her friends watched. Eager to see her clad in bark after ritual baths, reciting the sacred chants, offering oblations into the holy fire. Even sages came there. Age does not count in those grown mature in spirit. The penance grove itself became a hallowed place. Beasts mutually hostile in nature forgot their enmities. Trees offered guests all the fruit they desired. Sacred fires were lit in newly built huts of leaves. When it occurred to her that the desired fruit could not be had through penances already practiced, she strove to perform penance even more rigorous, with no thought of her body's tenderness. The girl who grew weary even playing with a ball immersed herself in the silence of ascetics. Indeed, her body must have been made of golden lotuses, delicate by nature, yet holding strength at the core. In summer's burning heat, the young girl, slim-waisted, smiling brightly, sat in the middle of 4 blazing fires. Having overcome the sun's eye-dazzling splendor, she looked him straight in the eye. Deeply burned by the rays of the sun, her face, bronzed, wore the luster of the lotus. Only at the long corners of her eyes faint shadows were creeping in by slow degrees. Only with water dripping down on its own unsought, and with nectar filled rays of the Lord of Stars would she break her ritual fast. Thus her means of subsistence were indeed no different from that of trees. Relentlessly burned by 2 forms of blazing energy, one that moved in space, the other fed by kindling on earth, then sprinkled by the first fresh shower at summer's close. Both she and the earth exhaled steamy mists that rose upwards. The first raindrop stood an instant on her eyelashes, then striking the lower lip broke to fall on the heights of her breasts, slid down the 3 delicate folds on her belly, and after a long time slowly reached her navel. Silent witnesses to her harsh penances, the knights watched with wide open eyes of lightning gleams, as she lay on a stone slab, homeless, unsheltered, in the unceasing wind-driven downpours of rain. Single-minded she passed the bitter nights of Pasa, standing in water while winds blew the endless sleet around, and she felt pity for a pair of chakravakas close by, parted and calling out plaintively to each other. With her lotus-fragrant face, its lower lip lovely as a tremulous petal, she restored in the night the beauty of a lotus to the waters that had lost the glory of lotuses destroyed by frost. Living only on leaves that had fallen on their own is truly penance of severity stretched to the limit. That too she spurned, hence those versed in ancient chronicles spoke of the sweet-spoken girl as Aparna, the lady with no leaves. As her frame, tender as lotus filaments, wasted away practicing day and night, such austerities and more, she left totally in the shade the austerities of ascetics with tough, hardened frames. Now, a man with matted hair, clad in black buckskin, carrying a palasa staff, entered the penance grove. Blazing with the splendor of holy power, bold in speech, he seemed the embodiment of disciplined young manhood. Quick to welcome guests, Parvati walked toward him, honoring him with reverent ceremony. Those with tranquil minds act with utmost respect towards illustrious persons, though they may be equals. Having accepted the courtesies duly offered, and rested for a moment merely for the sake of form, the ascetic looked at Uma with steady eyes, and observing all due proprieties, began speaking. Are wood and kusha grass for the holy rites within easy reach? And waters for ritual baths as well? Do you practice penances well within your powers? For the body is the prime means to do good works. Those tender leaf buds on shrubs you watered, coaxing them into burgeoning, are they still vibrant? And vying with the color of your lower lip that has for long forgotten the rich redness of lip paint? Do you indulge the fawns that, out of affection, confidently take kusha grass from your hands, flaunting their tremulous glancing eyes that bear a resemblance to your eyes, lady with lotus petal eyes? Now listen, daughter of the mountain, the saying that beauty leads not to vicious ways is not proven false. For your conduct itself stands, lady of noble mien, a model for even ascetics to follow. The upholder of the earth, with his entire race, has not been sanctified as much by Ganga celestial waters, falling flecked with her laughter of blossoms offered by the seven sages as by your unblemished acts. Lady of pure thought, it flashes upon my mind, seeing your conduct, that of the three aims of life. Righteousness is preeminent, since you have embraced that and that alone, emptying your mind of profit and pleasure. You ought not to regard me as a mere stranger, honored by you with special hospitality. My lady of curving grace, the wise declare that 7 words exchanged between the good form a friendly bond. Prompted by the curiosity natural to the twice-born, I therefore make bold to impose on your forbearance. Lady whose wealth is penance, wishing to ask you something, and if it be no secret, pray answer my question. Born of the lineage of the primal creator, Brahma, the beauty of the triple world risen in your form, in the bloom of youth, not having to seek the happiness that wealth and status confer. Tell me, what other fruit can penance offer? Granted that unendurable mishaps might drive proud, sensitive women to such a course of action, my mind driven on to deliberation's path, lissome lady, fails to see this to be your case. Your beauty cannot possibly be subject to sorrow, nor can there be lack of honor in your parental home. You face no stranger's dishonoring touch, for who dares stretch his hand towards the rays of the cobra's crest jewel, O lady of beautiful eyebrows? What makes you throw aside ornaments in your youth to put on the bark garment that lends distinction to age? Tell me, does the night that steps out at dusk, gemmed with moon and stars, long for the tawny dawn? If it is for the world of eternal light that you yearn, vain is penance. Your father's domain is itself divine ground. If for a husband you seek, cease your penance right now. A priceless gem is sought after. It does not go seeking. Ah, a sigh, breathe out with such burning ardor. It tells it all. Yet, my mind is still plunged into doubt. Is there a man you deign to woo? Hard to believe. If so, how could a man you woo be hard to get? Strange indeed, that young man you yearn for. How hard-hearted. To see those strands of matted hair tawny as the tips of ripening rice, dangling distraught on your cheeks, bare for so long of the lotus nestling at your ear, and still remain aloof. Seeing you pale as the sliver of the crescent moon by day, the parts of your body, once graced by jewels, now burned by the sun, thin beyond measure from harsh ascetic vows. What man of feeling would not feel his heart twisting with pain? Of one thing I am certain, the man you love must be deluded by pride in his own beauty, for long has he refrained from making his face the target of the winsome glances of these eyes with their curving lashes. Ah, Gowrie, how long will you go on with these penances? I too have accumulated power through penance, in this the first stage of my life. Take half of it to obtain the husband you desire. I wish to know him well. Thus addressed by the Brahmin, who had divined her inmost thought, Parvati could not speak of her heart's desire, but her eyes, bare of lustrous collyrium, turned to look at her companion standing beside her. Her companion then spoke to the worthy celibate. Listen carefully. If you are curious to know why my friend here makes her body a vehicle for penance, like someone using a lotus as a parasol, disdaining great Indra and all the others, the resplendent lords of the four quarters, this proud lady, knowing her worth, wants as husband the Pinaka-armed lord, who, by vanquishing love, proved that beauty could not win him. Formerly, the sharp arrow of love, the flower-armed god, missing Shiva, the triple city foe, its target, and hurled back by the unendurable mystic sound, whom plunged deep into her heart, even though love's form had been shattered. From then on, the young girl racked by love, the fringe of curls discolored by the cooling sandalwood balm on her forehead, failed to find relief even while resting on heaped snows spread on the floors of her father's mansion, while singing in the woodlands with Kinara princesses, her companions. Many a time would she make them weep, to hear her voice choked with tears, the words stumbling out, whenever songs celebrating Pinaki's deeds were sung. When her eyes closed at last in sleep for a moment, in the third watch of the night, all on a sudden she would wake up, crying out to the empty air, "Ah, blue-throated lord, where are you going?" and wind her arms round an imagined neck. And in secret, this artless girl would upbraid the picture she had drawn with her own hands of the moon-crested lord, saying, "Seers speak of you as all-pervading. How then can you not know of this poor girl's love for you?" When she had searched for some other way of winning for her husband the Lord of the universe, and found none, with her father's consent and us in attendance, she came to this penance grove to undertake penance. These trees witness to her penance, planted by our dear friend herself, are seen bearing fruit, yet her hopes grounded in the moon-crested Lord show no signs of even sprouting. I wonder when he, so ardently desired, so hard to get, will look graciously upon our friend, whom we, her friends, watch with tears wasting away in penance, as the god of rains looks down on the furrowed field, blighted from the withholding of his favor. As Uma's true feelings were thus revealed by the friend, who knew her inmost thoughts, that handsome stranger, bound to celibacy till death, simply asked her, "My lady, is this in earnest or in jest?" showing no emotion. Then the daughter of the mountain, holding a string of crystal beads, her fingers curling round it in the shape of a bud, with the greatest of efforts spoke the words she had been turning over in her mind for some time. Best of men learned in the Vedas. What you have just heard, that is so. This humble person is eager to leap to the highest of places. This penance, the means to attain it, perhaps mistakenly so. Nothing is beyond the reach of wishes. The young celibate responded thus, "Ah, the great Lord, do I not know him well? And yet you keep striving to have him, considering the delight he takes in all things inauspicious. I cannot find it in me to approve this pursuit of yours. Lady so keen on the pursuit of so worthless an object, when Shiva first takes this hand of yours, the auspicious thread of marriage twined round your wrist, how can it bear to be grasped by his hand encircled by a winding snake bracelet? Now you just consider carefully for yourself whether these two things can ever go together. Bridal silks with a lovely woven design of wild geese, and an elephant hide moist dripping with blood. Who indeed, even an enemy, would consider it right that your feet, used to walking on flower-strewn floors and pillared halls, should leave their red-lac-stained prints on burning ground strewn with human hair? What could be more incongruous, tell me, than the sight of ashes of funeral pyres that cover the chest of the three-eyed Lord, finding a foothold with such ease on these twin breasts of yours, creamed with pale gold sandalwood paste? And yet another cause for mortification awaits you, when you, who are accustomed to riding a stately elephant, are seen sitting astride after your wedding on an ancient bull, watched by a host of noblemen with mocking smiles. The longing for union with the trident-armed Lord has brought two objects into derision, deserving of pity: the glowing digit of the many-faceted moon, and you, the eye-delighting autumnal moonlight of the world. Formed deformed by oddly placed eyes, parentage unknown, the extent of riches displayed by his wearing space. Of all the virtues looked for in a bridegroom, fawn-eyed lady, is a single one to be seen in the three-eyed Lord. So pray turn your mind away from such a perverse liking. What a distance between one of his kind and you, blessed with auspicious marks. The godly do not honor the stake in the burning grounds with Vedic rites offered to the sacrificial post. While the Brahmin was giving vent to his adverse comments, Uma looked askance at him out of the red corner of her eyes, her tendril-like eyebrows now twisting into a frown, her quivering lower lip clearly displaying her anger. And she said to him, "From the way you speak to me of Shiva, it is quite plain that you do not know him as he truly is. The mediocre cavil at the way of life of the great, because it is not common in the world, nor understood. Things auspicious are sought after to gain wealth and power, or to avert calamities. What desires has he who is the world's refuge? What need has the Holy One for such desires that strike at the inner life? Possessing nothing, he is the source of all possessions. Lord of the three worlds, he resorts to the world of the dead. Awesome is his form, yet he is declared the beneficent. None knows the wielder of the Pinaka as he truly is. Whether it glows with jewels, or has hooded snakes coiled round it, whether it is clad in silks, or wrapped in an elephant hide, whether it has the moon, or a skull for a crest jewel, his form, that is the world's form, is beyond all imaginings. There can be no doubt that the ashes of funeral pyres are sanctified by the touch of his body. Therefore, ashes falling from his limbs during the expressive movements of his dancing mark the foreheads of dwellers in the Empyrean. At his feet, who lacks riches and rides a bull? Indra, whose mount is the stately elephant of the east, in must, bows his diademed head, low tinging the Lord's toes red with the pollen of full-blown mandara blossoms. You degenerate man, raring to speak ill of the Lord, you have said one thing right about him. How can the origins be known of him, the seers declare, the cause of Brahma, the self-born creator himself? Enough of this contest of words. Let him be what you have heard him to be, entirely that and nothing else. But my heart, filled with love, is centered in him. She who has made up her mind pays no heed to slander. Dear friend, pray stop this prating boy from speaking further. The way his lower lip quivers. It seems he wants to say more. Not only speaking ill of the great, but listening to it makes a person guilty of wrongdoing. Or better still, let me leave. With these words, the young girl started to walk away, her bark garments slipping off her breasts, and the Lord, whose banner was blazoned with the emblem of the Lord of Bulls, assumed his own form, and smiling, swept her into his arms. Trembling, she looked at him, her sylph-like figure moist with sweat, the raised foot poised in air, about to step forward. The daughter of the Mountain King, like a river wavering when she meets a hill blocking her course, neither moved nor stayed. My lady of curving grace, won by your penances, from this moment I am your slave. As the moon-crested Lord spoke these words, Uma instantly felt the weariness of her penances flowing away. The weariness of great efforts refreshes by yielding fruit. Thus ends Canto 5, entitled Tapahphalodayah, or the Fruit of Penance, in the long poem Kumarasambhavam by the illustrious Kalidasa.